So William kind of did a good job leading up to the GPS transmitter stuff, so won't have to spend too much time there. Raptor View has been working with Osprey in western Montana for years now with Eric Green and Heiko Langner of the University of Montana. A variety of projects from education about the dangers of baling twine, ecotoxicology, but this is really a species that spends up to 2/3 of its life on wintering ground. So for everything we do here, it's really kind of only half the story. So in 2012, we partnered up with MPG to try and find out, if nothing else, where our birds go. I got this from Rob Beauregard, who's the Osprey expert out east. And it's kind of a synthesis of all the previous telemetry data done with Osprey. You can see out on the East Coast, some of the birds from Maine do this arduous journey where they just fly over open ocean all the way to Cuba. Some continue down into South America from there. The majority of the birds out east kind of follow their way into Florida, down into Cuba, down into South America. The West Coast birds kind of just follow Mexico along, continue down into South America, some stop there. And recently our partners on a lot of projects in Wyoming, Jackson, started a study. And they found that their birds kind of did both. So I guess everyone here probably is familiar with where the ranch is, but we selected both active nests on the ranch to go after all individuals, young and adults. Capturing the young birds was pretty straightforward. We got a bucket truck after they were fully grown, but before they were flying, outfitted them with transmitters and put them back. The adults were a little more tricky. We used what we call the noose igloo. It's basically like what William talked about, the BC traps. It's a sturdy metal frame with a bunch of nooses, which are kind of difficult to see tied over it. And we'd come up to the nest during incubation, take the eggs out, put them in an incubator, replace them with addled eggs from a previous year, and then get back down and wait for the birds to come in. Here, I believe, this is the north center pivot nest. The adult comes in, lands on the igloo, gets caught, and we get up there as soon as we can. This is really effective. It worked with every individual but one, actually. And that one did get hung up, but when we went up to get it, it got loose before we were able to get there. So we had to go plan B. If we can't get it where it nests, get it where it forages. Osprey are pretty boring, really. They just have their favorite spots and they sit there. We knew where this osprey hung out, so we got a fish, tied some nooses are very popular in raptor trapping, so tied some nooses onto the fish, paddled our way down the river until we saw the bird perched. We would throw the fish in the water. It was tethered to a log to prevent it from flying away, and amazingly quick, the bird came down, grabbed it. Madness ensued. Everyone rushed from the bushes out there to try and get the bird. And yeah, it went well. We got the fish, got the bird, and 45 minutes later or so, it was on its way flying around. So 2012, we successfully got all 4 adults and all 4 young from the nest. 2013, we had a new female at the north center pivot nest, and 3 total young, which we outfitted as well this year. So what did we find? Here we are in the blue. We found that most of our birds go into Mexico. We had 1 female go all the way down into Nicaragua, near the Costa Rican border. And we've had 2 birds go to the Gulf Coast of Texas, which I don't think had ever been shown with telemetry studies previously. Okay, so this is where I had a video. This will just kind of show the birds moving in temporal relation to each other, I guess. I used red for female, adult female, blue for adult male, and yellowish green for young birds. And we observed a pattern of migration that's well documented in the other studies, where the females will move first, followed by the young birds, and then the males will move last. So again, this is the fall of 2012. We got all the birds on the ranch. There goes 1 female, then the young, and then the adult males follow behind. The young birds will stay on their wintering territory for 2 years, they believe. So we've got this one down now on the Gulf Coast of Texas. Fall 2013. Birds still down on the Gulf Coast. We'll see the same pattern, adult female, young bird, and the adult males. So if we kind of just put that all together, so this is all their paths, right? We have a couple fall journeys for this bird now, for this red and this other blue. They were returning adults. A big takeaway here is if you'll look, the adult birds are pretty direct in their routes. They know where they're going. They've done this before. They've been on their wintering grounds before, and they know how to get there. The young birds don't, so we see a lot more wandering around, which would make sense if they've never done it before. To kind of put this in perspective, I guess we'll focus on these last columns really, but what I call travel efficiency is just the total kilometers the bird traveled in relation to the total kilometers it ended up away from the nest. So if it was a perfect straight line, it would have been a 1-to-1 ratio, basically. And what we see is with the efficiency, the adults on the top, pretty good compared to the young birds. 2013, the young bird actually did better than a couple of the adults. But you also see in the kilometers traveled per day, these adults are really efficient flyers. Osprey are kind of, big and they seem kind of clumsy, but it's amazing what these birds can do in the air. Okay, so like I said, we have 2 years of data on a couple of the adults. Oh wait, this has been playing the whole time. Okay, here we go. So we'll start out with an adult male. There he is on the MPG Ranch, traveling south the fall of 2012. Go ahead and mark that one with a blue line. And the takeaway here is the fidelity these birds show to their migratory routes. So in the spring of 2013 now, you can see a little bit of variation, but almost right on top. The variation's likely due with just weather patterns and stuff like that. And then we got the fall of 2013 right back on top of that. We'll just go with this size if it works for everyone else. So this is the female all the way down to the Nicaragua-Costa Rica border. Spring of 2013. And then the fall, this past fall, right on top of the spring trek. And then our other adult male, her partner, down to a spot on the Gulf of California, back up in spring. And then this fall is a little bit varied, but probably most likely due to weather. Okay. So I got a couple of those. Okay, so this is where they all go, right? Again, the same codes. Red is a female, blue, adult male, and green are the young ones. Big takeaway. So we got from here up to here. These birds all were from 1.5 kilometers away from each other. And they're pretty spread out when you think about that. For a third of the year, they're that close, and then now. So really, what are we going to do if there's wintering ground problems? That would be a lot of organization. Another takeaway is not only are these birds wintering in very different locations, the type of locations they're wintering in are very different. We've got this image, which I found on Google Earth from where this bird was wintering in Nicaragua, pristine beach. It looked like a really nice spot. And then her youngster from 2012 is hanging around chemical plants on the Gulf Coast of Texas. When the birds get down to the wintering grounds, they are pretty boring again. It's honestly sometimes hard to tell if they're alive or not. They just sit. It's difficult to read here, but this scale from here to here is 1 kilometer. And this is its 2012 winter range. It probably had 90% of its tracks in this little circle, which again, radius or a diameter of about a kilometer. And then these are some tracks from the beginning of the winter of 2013. And you can see it really has a lot of fidelity to their wintering grounds as well. This is another adult male. This is the one on the Gulf of California. Again, 3 kilometers, not a lot of movement for an entire winter. Okay, so GPS transmitters can give us a lot of information about the fate of these birds after we see them. When we traditionally ban birds, you catch a boatload of them, let them go, and you're lucky to hear back about one. We have, this is actually a question mark now, I think it's 5 now, one of the transmitters on the adult female in Nicaragua. We're not sure what happened to her. I'll get on that in a little bit. But anyway, we have insight on 4 of the 6 birds that we lost. This is a table of all the birds we have outfitted. We'll start up at the top. The north center pivot nest male is still online. His partner, we banded her August 28th, September 6th, went offline. Typically, if a bird goes down, if it's a mortality, we get a stack of locations, which would make sense, right? This bird was moving around and all of a sudden it just stopped sending data. Very rare, we don't know what happened, maybe a car strike, maybe electrocution, but some sort of catastrophic failure of the unit, which again is rare. Both adults from the ranch entrance nest are online in here. Actually, the female, like I mentioned, her transmitter stopped sending signals while she was moving south just a little bit above her wintering range this past fall, and kicked on a couple locations in February, around where she went offline near the capital city of Managua. And we don't know what to think. It doesn't look good though. The points we have show her in a town hanging out at a house. So either the transmitter is in someone's garage or she's hanging out in somebody's tree. I guess we'll find out more this, I'm really hoping she comes back this breeding season and she's got a transmitter that just isn't working. But I'm not optimistic. Yeah?
I can't. Is that, let's say 2012 or 2013 for date offline?
For which one?
For our female?
The female, it says online.
Oh, okay.
I just got a little ahead. So, okay, so the first young from 2012, we got all of the young birds July 26th. During fall migration, October 21st, well, it had headed down, it got to Texas, it got confused and started doing these spirals, which are difficult to make out, and it ended up in this ranching area of Texas. A local rancher found it on the side of the road, beat up pretty bad, busted wing, and there was a windmill right there, and that's what his guess was. He gave it some bird seed in his garage for a while. Unfortunately, osprey don't eat bird seed, and it perished. So its sibling, also banded that same day, right? Went offline January 18th. It had survived a good portion of the winter. It had gone south. Actually spent most of its time up here, and then all of a sudden did this weird movement down here in the middle of winter, and then we started getting stacks of locations. Rob was able to get in touch with a biologist down there who took 2 days of his time and braved a bunch of thorny plants and was able to locate the bird. This is where it's found. This is its remains right here. And it wasn't too long after. It was a reasonable length of time he got down there, but it was too decomposed to tell the cause of death. The transmitter was fitting it properly still from the pictures, so we really have no idea what happened, but we were able to confirm that it was a mortality. So ranch entrance 1 young is still online near Galveston. We'll get into this osprey in a couple minutes here. His sibling, ranch entrance young 2 from 2012, never left Montana. As of October 25th, it was on the Blackfoot River, and its transmitter stopped giving locations. It's a solar-powered unit. Where it was hanging out, it was near Whitaker Bridge. Pretty densely grown-in area, not much sun, and the battery just kind of went out. We were able to, so yeah, it flew up here, then just hung out around Whitaker Bridge. William and I went out the day after it went offline, October 26th, and saw it right above the bridge. got this picture through the scope. The bird was flying well. It looked okay. Transmitter looked great. The next week we got about a foot of snow, though. We never heard from it or saw it again. All right, so 2013, we got a new female who took this female's spot at the North Center pivot nest. She's online, doing well, also on the Gulf Coast of Texas. Both young from the ranch entrance nest did not migrate south to our knowledge. The first bird we found near the gate of the ranch along the Walton's fence, there's a mule hoof. We found it just like this. We believe it was fresh. We drove in that day to do some work, came out a few hours later and saw this. Gathered it up, we sent it in for a necropsy, and the results came back. It died of some physical trauma. It was something caused it physical injury. It wasn't poison or anything like that. Its sibling, similar to this female up here, just went offline. We don't know what happened again. Catastrophic failure, no idea. And then the other young, the lone young from the North Center pivot nest, which is probably difficult to see, is still online in Mexico doing well. So now I kind of want to get into this guy, Osprey 54, or this gal, I should say. We just got back to the DNA results, and it's a female. Osprey 54 was our lone surviving chick from 2012, ranch entrance nest. It left the Bitterroot Valley September 14th, 2012. About 10 days later or so, was almost to the Gulf Coast, got lost, and went up to Oklahoma. It stayed on a golf course from September 26th to November 12th near the ponds on the course. And we thought this was going to be a bizarre wintering spot. But then in mid-November, it started going down and finally hit the Gulf Coast, which was great because that's a much better spot. And it's been there ever since. As I said earlier, young osprey are thought to stay on their wintering grounds for the first 2 years of their life. So we are really hoping and really excited at the opportunity that this bird will now, in the next week or so maybe, start heading back up north, and we'll find out where it disperses to, which is a pretty big deal with osprey telemetry. To my knowledge, I don't think it's been recorded. A few months ago, we got this long chain of CC'd emails from someone who had taken a photograph of an osprey and was trying to find out where it came from. And it had made its way through a bunch of osprey researchers, finally came to us, and we were able to get, for the first time, a view of Osprey 54, all new adult feathers. Transmitter looks great, fishing great. It was really encouraging. I think it's just being able, so like I said, we banned all these birds, let them go, and we hardly ever hear back from them. Transmitters allow us to get these huge narratives of what these birds do for, a couple years of their lives, and I think it's really exciting, and it gives you this kind of connection to each individual. Here's another picture they got of it. So just to kind of sum up, what have we learned? Of course, we've learned some stuff about migratory routes, timing, the fidelity, relatively same routes in fall versus spring, excuse me. We've learned where they're wintering, the size of those wintering grounds. They have a high degree of fidelity. We're getting insight on mortality, and like I just mentioned, the more complete narrative individuals. I've been really interested on how we can share this stuff with people. We get all this cool information, and it's just begging to be shared. And I've tried creating this Google Earth network link that was clumsy. It took way too much time. It was a real pain. I know there's a better way to do it, but no one's doing it. And the great thing about MPG is there's so many people who are experts in different fields. And I talked to Nick about it, and Nick said, oh, well, we've got Eric Samso working with us who can do this kind of thing. And so Eric and I have been kind of working on creating a website where we can get this information to the public that's a lot more user-friendly than having to download Google Earth, open up a network link that now is, each time I update it, it's like 50 megabytes, you'd have to download it. And so we really wanted to get it done before birds started moving, and Eric was able to do that, so we're kind of unleashing the, this is the website, and I was gonna have the video play here, but we'll do it the other way. But we'll get this out on Facebook and put a link on the webpage, I'm sure. But Eric this morning created a little demo of the website, him using it. Let's see how this works. So it automatically updates all the current locations of all the birds. We had a special task force come up with names for the birds, which is a little more fun to follow than 117182. Kind of just going through, so you can see basically all the data we have on it: wintering range, breeding range, migratory journeys. And so everyone can now follow along with where the birds are all the time. And they should start moving, I would guess, in the next week, week and a half. One thing that's really cool, I think it gets a little demo here, is this street view guy, which I've never messed with much, and unfortunately Nicaragua doesn't have much street view, but a lot of areas do. So you can kind of just drag that guy down and check out where the bird is and what it looks like. I think it's coming here. We also have a lot of opportunities here, like nest. So we could have it where you click on here and it links to the live camera of the nest. We want to add a bunch of stuff. This is just showing all the birds there. So we want to just create as much information as there's a tiger Eric threw in there. So eventually we want to have it where each bird has a little narrative. You click on it, a photo comes up, tells about them. We can make this really educational, and I really think it's going to be the coolest website of this type that exists. And if it's not, send me a link to the one and we'll rip it off and try and do it a little better. And that is it.